This is NBC4's News Conference with Conan and Nolan, Southern California's longest-running public affairs program.
On this edition of News Conference, the growing split within the Democratic Party. Progressives critical of the Biden administration's support of Israel in its war against Hamas, now condemning the current negotiations on immigration reform.
It is unconscionable. That is not the way to fix our immigration system.
With House and Senate members on the party's left flank voicing outrage, the White House is considering new asylum rules designed to stem the surge in border crossings. All part of negotiations with Congressional Republicans for an aid package for Ukraine. We talk with Congresswoman Nanette Diaz Barragán of San Pedro, the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. A new Pew Center poll has Mr. Biden's job approval rating at just 33%, with a majority giving him poor marks on the economy. But the job numbers and consumer confidence say something a lot different. We talk with economist Christopher Thornburg of Beacon Economics. And it was a decade ago that Joe Gatto, a beloved former teacher and father of a popular state assemblyman, was found murdered in his Silver Lake home, a crime that has yet to be solved. We talk with his son, Mike Gatto, about what his family has gone through over the past 10 years and the book he's writing dedicated to victims of crime still seeking closure. Good morning and welcome to the Tom Brokaw News Center here at Universal City. I'm Conan. Nolan, thanks for joining us. If you're looking for Meet the Press, it aired earlier this morning as a result of a programming change due to NBC Sports. It will return at its regular time next Sunday. First up for us is Congresswoman Nanette Diaz Barragán, Democrat of the 44th District of California, which includes San Pedro, Wilmington, and parts of Long Beach. She's also the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. Congresswoman, thanks for taking the time. Listen, we know that the White House is negotiating with Republicans over a Ukraine funding bill, which may involve changes to immigration law, some of which will have a significant increase, we understand, in migrant detention, deportation at the border, as well as stricter asylum laws. What specifically are your concerns?
Well, my first concern is I don't think this is the vehicle to be having that conversation. I think that it's a mistake to attach conversations about the border and immigration to foreign aid. Our allies need the aid. Ukraine and Israel need that aid. And that's something that's bipartisan and should be done separately. So that's the first concern I have. The second concern I have is that the conversation is not really about fixing the broken situation at the border. What it is, it's a conversation about how do we just end asylum? How do we do away with immigration? And that's the concern. It's not really about how to fix it. But my other concern is what's on the table now are Trump-era immigration policies. And it's really something I never thought would be happening, especially now, and certainly not in exchange for foreign aid.
So there have been an estimated 4.5 million illegal border crossings in the last 2 years. Republicans say the asylum law has been abused by human traffickers, and it's not just Republicans. Democrats, such as Kathy Hochul of New York, says her state can't take any more migrants. Her quote was, the border is too open right now. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, as well as the mayor of Chicago, both are Democrats. They say the surge in the border crossings has resulted in a humanitarian crisis in their state. You just linked this to Donald Trump, these suggested border policy changes, but many of these ideas seem to be bipartisan.
Well, I haven't seen where the bipartisanship is on having mass deportations and some of the other policies that are being discussed. What the governors have talked about was the concern that they have. Number one, they need money, which is a part of the bill the Republicans have rejected. They need dollars to be able to provide services for the migrants that are being bused, mind you, illegally to these different cities across the country. But the system is broken because the Congress has failed to invest in an immigration system that works. There hasn't been an investment to make sure there's enough judges to adjudicate these cases quickly. It's taken 4 years for people to have their asylum cases heard. It shouldn't take that long. That is going to incentivize people to want to come into the interior and wait. We shouldn't be doing that. So we need to be able to fund processing at the southern border. We also know that legal pathways make immigration more orderly. And what's happening is people can't just come to a port of entry to request asylum, which is what you're seeing. More and more people come between ports of entry. We're a nation of immigrants. Our asylum laws are in place to protect those fleeing violence. And because the system's broken, we definitely need to reform it, but it needs to be a comprehensive approach.
Let me ask you about public opinion. According to a poll by Blueprint, that's a new public research firm for Democrats, over half of Americans want to reduce the number of asylum seekers at the border. My network, NBC News, says Republicans hold an 18-point lead over your party when it comes to voters' perceptions as to which party is better at controlling the border. Dissuade us of the notion that your issue isn't with the White House or the GOP, it's with the American public.
The American public is for orderly immigration. The American public is for DACA recipients, and we're not seeing any movement on that. The American public is for legal pathways to citizenship. The American public is not for mass deportations and mass detention of children and families. I don't believe it. And I don't think that a message this Christmas to have mass deportations and mass detention is something the American people want.
The feeling is, and you get this from Democrats in Washington, that if it comes down to a choice between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, progressives such as you and many progressive Democrats will fall in line. You may not like the results from these negotiations on the border, but you will be there for Mr. Biden because, frankly, when it comes to Donald Trump and all the other issues that that campaign represents, you have no choice.
Well, the concern I have is people are going to stay home, and people are not going to be going to the polls. They're not going to be active in their fighting for their candidate because of how they feel on this issue and other issues. This isn't the only issue. At the end of the day, right now, the negotiations are happening, and it's a time to send a message that this is not what the American people want. There is a better way to do this, and to basically capitulate to Republicans in their hostage-taking situation is not the way to do this. And again, you're going to make changes to immigration law hastily in a matter of days that are going to have long-term consequences, and that is just a disservice not just to the values of this country, to immigrants in this country, but to the entire system.
The Honorable Nanette Diaz Barragán, a member of Congress from the 44th Congressional District of California, San Pedro, Wilmington. Thank you very much for joining us, and happy holidays.
Thank you.
Up next, recent numbers show the economy is doing well, better than expected, but still voters don't see it. We talk with Christopher Thornburg of Beacon Economics when we return.